we've got everyone, but we can do a roll call if you'd like.
Well, as long as you have it documented.
Yep.
And any guests, if you would like to introduce yourself and let us know which application you're associated with or who you're here on behalf of. Amelia's got her microphone turned off now, so.
Hi, my name is Amelia McLean Robertson. I'm just here to observe. I'm an attorney with Bond, Shannick & King. We represent the Cortlandville Sand and Gravel Mine, but I'm not here to present today, just to observe.
Okay, thank you. Chairman's remarks, I wondered if making sure, or no, I'm sorry, approval of the minutes. Did everybody receive the October, last month's meeting minutes in the email?
Yes.
Have a chance to go over them?
Yes, thank you, Alex. I'll move them.
Okay.
I'll
A
second it.
on that?
I second it.
Okay, good. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections or clarifications? Chairman's remarks, we also probably all received the email from Tricia for a training session. Kind of an interesting item, I thought, with housing challenges and how it affects the community, both in urban and rural areas. It's starting pretty quickly, but Tricia, if you want to take over and describe that at all, I'll let you handle that.
Yeah, this has been this is a housing summit that's been organized by Southern Tier 8. I'm actually going to be I'm going to be commentating in one of the sessions on sustainability in January as well. But they're just 1 hour lunch sessions to provide a little more information, and it seems to be some hot topics in the rural communities. So Southern Tier 8 saw a good need and started compiling guest speakers and county representatives to host some of the training sessions. And what I'm going to be doing too is they're also going to be providing me with a roster of attendees. So I think on the email, you probably saw I emailed it out to a lot of different people, all the municipality contacts that it would pertain to, and we'll be giving out credit for it as well for the continuing education credits for training. So seems like it's some pretty good relevant information. I'm not sure, and Bo might know a little bit more, but I think with the link that they sent right now, you can only register for this Thursday's training, and it's going to be every other week. And I'm not sure yet if you'll be able to register using that same link, or they'll be sending a new link for the next training sessions. So we're just waiting for that answer right now from Southern Tier 8. I don't know if you know any more about that in particular, Bo. So I might need to send.
Yeah, I don't know anything further, so I think we'll just need to send a follow-up as it comes out.
Right. But looks like some pretty good stuff. It's I hope all the people get it. I know I'm sorry that's a short turnaround.
Noticed it was free, no charge for it. Okay. Director's remarks, or turn it over to the applications.
I think that was it. I think we're just continuing to work on, stay posted on just some updated looking forms, some updating the GML referral forms from the municipalities. We're still kind of discussing that with a few other municipalities, but other than that, we're plugging away, and we'll keep everybody posted. We're also going to be, I think we talked to a few of the municipalities we spoke to about doing more personalized training for the local planning boards at the local planning boards. A few that we spoke to said maybe after the first of the year would be a better time. Once any new members start in the beginning of the year. So that's kind of our game plan, to start getting some of that scheduled at that point. So we'll keep everybody posted.
All right, so we've got 2 of them this month. Starts with the zoning text amendment for the purpose of further safeguarding the existing wellhead protection areas located within the town of Cortlandville's Aquifer Protection District. It's here because it's amending the zoning code, which impacts property throughout the town. We reviewed a moratorium on this in June of this year, which we approved, and then in July we saw it again for an actual zoning text amendment. We did approve it, but they went back and revised some sections, and now we're going to look at it again. So previously we had approved it based on them referencing the city of Cortland's water supply wells. They haven't done that, so we're gonna recommend that again. They're still gonna have zone 1A, 1B, 2. 1A is basically, right, the immediate area around the wells. 1B is kind of the aquifer itself, above the aquifer itself, and zone 2 is kind of the watershed recharge, as it says, area for the aquifer. Still going to be prohibiting all these things within zone 1A. The big change is going to be on mines and mining operations. So previously, it simply just banned all mining within Wellhead Protection Zone 1A. Now it's going to be pretty much only allowing mines within agricultural districts. New mines, I should say. Existing mines will be allowed to continue. If previously permitted, they'll be able to expand laterally, just not below the water table, unless NISDEC approves it. That's what I've got. We've got the full, what's being proposed today, and then the red lined, which is the difference from what we saw last time.
And recommendations.
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendations.
Can you read the recommendations, Alex?
Yeah, it's that they reference the City of Cortland public water supply wells in the statement of intent and establishment of wellhead protection zone sections and compliance with seeker.
Okay, motion then. Who was that?
I said that. I move it.
Okay.
Chuck.
Second,
I'll second, Paul.
Paul. And discussion.
I've got, I don't know, I know we don't make the laws for these things, but I know they're referencing the Cortlandville Sand and Gravel Pit for their, because that's the only one out there, of course. I don't know. I talked to a few people at the town, and they're worried about the pollution from mining there. And I asked 2 different people how they're going to pollute it, under the water, if they do that, with a drag line system, which there's not even a machine in the water. There's a bucket in there, just like Soup Coat does on the other end of town. I don't know. I think I don't know. It may be more than I know about, but I don't see where that type of mining is going to affect the water. If it did, the water heading out of Hopeville to Marathon would be in a sad shape. They've been mining that for years. I don't know. I know they got to protect their water, but you know, as well, there's a business trying to operate, and we do need aggregate material in Cortland.
Alex and Tricia, both of those are grandfathered in, correct? As far as lateral expansion?
Yes.
Right. But there's very little room left for that lateral expansion. There's a few acres headed towards the road, and other than that, that pit, like I've been in there since the day it opened, and it's a big hole in the ground, and you know, they're pretty much to the extremes, I believe, and they can go a little further here and there, but there's not a lot of usable space left in there, I don't believe.
Is that the extent of what they own, though, Dan? I mean, they're pushing the perimeter of what they own, right?
I believe so. I couldn't tell you. I know they own forward towards the old driving range where they had the pumpkin patch in there this year, but I don't believe that's part of the existing mining permit. I think that was something they were looking to expand into also, which would that would get them some more distance and coverage. But they say I don't know, they don't want to run just 1 or 2 years. I'm sure they plan on running for a distance of time. But I don't know. I've been around this stuff a lot because that's my line of work. So, you know, I don't see, you know, if it's how you're going to get a lot of pollution out of drag lining a pond. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more to it than I know. But from what I see, they throw that in there. I mean, like say, Suco's been doing it for years. They've done it out in Homer for years. I just don't see the danger to it as part of the extreme of just immediately saying absolutely nothing can be done, you know?
Dan, it's Chuck.
Yep.
I got a comment. You know, we're only talking about the 1A, where we're talking about going down in. I think it's a reasonable thing to try and protect the aquifer that close to the wells. I don't see, there's plenty other places you can get gravel in the county, Cortland and Cortlandville. I mean, you talk about Hopeville, it's a whole different operation. That's not close to any municipal wells. So if anything happened there, it would go on a long way before it would hit any municipal system. Here, we're sitting within a few hundred feet of the Lime Hollow wells and then on down the valley. So I'm really against any exposure of that aquifers. And there is a difference in health department rules and regulations when you look at surface water versus groundwater. And you're opening up a big surface water thing here. I know it's not taking water from it, but I think it's a reasonable thing to try and protect the wells for both the city and Cortlandville, you know, in general. So I think it's a good idea to go ahead and do it. You know,
agree with you 100%.
or not, something else could get into that water. I think they're just trying to be careful. I think we don't know exactly what could happen, what couldn't, and I think it's a reasonable approach that doesn't hurt that much. Okay.
Okay, that was my question, more or less. And I just, because I don't know what kind of contamination they would get. I don't know. There's probably something there, but I don't know personally, you know, so that's why I'm asking everybody. And how does the pollution get there? Tom Williams told me, well, somebody could run a loader in there. I said, well, how many times has that happened? You know, as in probably never. I don't know.
Right.
But other than that, you know, they say it's a clean system as far as I know, but maybe, you know, I don't know the total particulars of it. But that's just my take on it because, like I say, that's my line of work.
Mm-hmm.
I did wonder if there's any previous approvals from the DEC for expansion into and below the water for that Cortlandville sand and gravel specifically.
They did give them, from what I asked Tom that too, and they did give them permission once, but the town, I don't know.
denied it or something?
raise a stink or whatever and talk, and changed their mind and they backed out and then they were against it. I think
Yeah, I thought
originally,
something like that happened in the past when we had it on our agenda before.
I think the DEC originally said no harm, no foul, go ahead. I believe. I think I read that in the paper, as a matter of fact. But then when Cortlandville got worried, got going on, they talked, they changed their mind. I don't know why or what was the total thing on it.
No, I kind of agree with Chuck. Eventually, no matter what mining operation is happening, they're probably going to eventually go below the water table or hit water table or run out of gravel. So, I mean, it's inevitable that no matter what mine you're talking about, it'll happen eventually to most of them. Anybody else?
I guess it would help.
Well,
I guess it would help
go.
for context purposes if we knew how deep they were versus how deep the water table is. But I guess they're making a general rule, as opposed to a specific case study rule. Is that right, Alex and Tricia?
Yes.
I think the water out there, the water table in the aquifer runs anywhere from like 20 to 30 to 50 feet deep and gets shallower as you go towards the city. So I think they're approaching where you would hit the water table.
They're probably way beyond it already.
No, I think what little conversation I had with them, I think they're 8 to 15 feet above it. They got the DEC did set a limit when Guns and Houses originally opened that pit as to the elevation they had to stay at. And I know when Roy Suskin was running it out there, they had one area that got extremely deep and they had to fill it back in because it was getting close to the water. I'm not sure the exact number, but yeah, they're within striking range of the water.
Seemed to me that previous application we had, they were applying to go 100 feet, either beyond their boundaries, or I'm not sure if that was the depth or what, but
I think I read that also in the paper, 100 feet into the water. I don't know if there's gravel 100 feet or whatever, or that's just a number they threw on it. I don't know.
I thought that's what they were applying for. The depth was 100 feet below the water table.
That'd be a huge cycle time for that drag line. Yeah, I think you're right though, and I think that's what I think I read that somewhere also.
Yeah, I think the valley extends down, the gravel extends down about 200 or 300 feet, and it gets shallower or deeper.
Oh, does it go that deep?
Yep, it goes pretty deep in the center of the valley. As you approach the hills, it gets shallower and shallower. It's a big U-shaped valley, and it's filled up with gravel all the way from Gracie Road into town.
I know in Polkville
it's deep right in the middle of the valley. I don't know how it is close to the edges, but I know if you look at the aquifer studies from the 2000 and earlier, it's quite deep out there. Whether it stays consistent or not, I don't know, but I know it gets pretty deep.
Wow. Huh. I know the Polkville, a friend of mine used to work there. That's not anywhere near that deep out in there.
Yeah. Polkville has a little bit shallower at that end, and also in the Cropper Valley, you run out of the gravel at about the 60-foot level. There's a clay layer that seals it off, but the other end, it gets pretty deep.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that deep. That would be a big hole. It'd be a tough one to reclaim.
That's my concern, is the depth below the water table. That's a concern that we should all have, Anybody else?
Alex and Tricia, this is Paul. For clarification, now they can continue to expand under the existing permit. Anybody that's grandfathered in, whether it be McMahon's, Cortlandville, down South Cortland, Polkville, existing permits are totally grandfathered in, and lateral expansion, if I read it correctly, is grandfathered in as long as they own the land. So if they were to come before the board and want to expand from a depth perspective, the board's taking a position like, okay, I don't know if we want that, but then again, that'll be up to the board to grant it or not, huh?
Depending on the zone, of course, too. that they're in,
Yeah.
and the DEC approval.
Okay.
And some of the 1A zones that are the real, I think 1A and 1B, is that the ones that are restricted in? I think, which are the ones that are immediately upstream of the wells.
The 1A
So-
is the immediate area, correct? And then B is kind of the offshot, and then 2 is like the hill beyond Empire Tractor.
Yeah, the 1A will basically reach, the water will reach the well within 2 years. It's there.
Right.
The 1B, I think it's like up to 5 years. And I think 2 is just a recharge area, I think, primarily.
Right.
So what we're looking at and approving is verbiage that lets them impose restrictions, but doesn't necessarily restrict it. It would have to come before the town with the appropriate DEC approval to do an expansion beyond their current permit. In
Lateral.
this specific instance.
For that particular pit, it'd be lateral, I believe. They don't want mining below the water table, is what I read, right?
Right.
That's my understanding.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so they could go forward, whatever property, I guess they'd have to get permitted from the DEC also, but whatever property they own,
Right.
they could expand into, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, all new mines and all forms of mining are prohibited within Wellhead Protection Zone 1A, except the existing mines in such areas may continue to operate if previously permitted and may expand laterally within the existing property, but may not expand into and below the water table. In Wellhead Protection Zone 1A, unless such expansion or operation below the water table was previously submitted by the DEC prior to the enactment of this provision.
What does that mean? Seems how that, I don't think that piece in the front there was permitted with their original permit. Does that mean they wouldn't be allowed to expand into that piece?
Didn't they apply for a new permit for that area?
I was gonna say, are they gonna have to go through the DEC, and then that is not part of the existing permit? They would be, stopped from going in there because it's not part of the existing. It wouldn't fit the grandfather clause, would it?
Well, any expansion doesn't sound like it would be part of an existing permit, though. If you're expanding, it's got to be either amended to.
I think a lot of times with mines, the general permit that you get in the beginning of the life of the mine allows for expansion over a certain time period. And it's kind of like they give you permissions at specific stages. Usually there's phases of a mine life, but honestly, I don't know the specifics of the Cortlandville permit and if that's how it's set up.
I couldn't tell you either. I don't know that particulars of it. But I don't believe that front section is. I remember when Ralph was in there running that, I'm quite sure he said that front piece was not in the permit zone area.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that allow for that to be because it's part of the property, or if it's a technical area, if it's part of the property, they can expand into it, or they cannot go into that area.
So basically what we're looking at is recommending approval of the text amendment for Town of Cortlandville, existing wellhead protection areas.
And making them or asking them to add the reference to the city of Cortland's water supply.
Oh yeah, is that in the recommendations?
It is. It's recommendation
Oh,
number 1.
Yep, got it. Okay,
So
all
we
those
call
in
the
favor
question?
of staff's, all those in favor of staff's recommendations?
All right.
Yes.
Aye. Bo, I like that. Is anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. It's carried.
second one and last one of the night. We've got a conditional permit for the purpose of building an ice cream store with indoor seating. It's 1764 Route 392 in Virgil. It is zoned commercial and it's in their Aquifer Protection District Area 2. We saw this one back, it was in April. I can't believe I didn't write this down. But I believe we saw it in April. It was it was tabled because of not enough information, but we're back now. So there's a whole slew of things that we had a very good CRC meeting with Dan and the Virgil Code officer and Cortland County Health Department, Trish and me. So currently they're providing 13 parking spaces. The Virgil zoning law requires 20 per 1,000 square feet. So we're going to ask the applicant to provide, how many did I say? I believe it's 17.
Yeah, I think that's what we come up with, 17.
Yeah. Let's see. Lighting is required. They're required to be adequate lighting. So we're recommending that. Dumpster enclosure. They without saying dumpster enclosure, the zoning code would like a dumpster enclosure. The other thing was there was in our discussion, there was a possibility of converting it into a drive-in or drive-through, maybe not initially, but at some point. So just a recommendation to be aware of that and leave room in case that ever happens. So we don't need to come back with an area variance someday. We had NISDOT give some comments. Basically, they just have to get permission, and there's certain guidelines that they have to read. It's got to be engineered.
And this would just fall under a regular state highway perm 33 application. Very basic that all applicants on state highways.
Nothing too, extensive. And then also Mike Ryan and Don Ware from Environmental Health Division. Basically, you can read a little more here, but just complying with the state sanitary code, county sanitary code, and then health department rules and regulations. They did say that probably need a waiver for the minimum lot size for their well and septic system. So that's a recommendation as well. So reading off all the recommendations, we've got minimum of 17 parking spaces as required by section 904F, adequate lighting in compliance with section 905B, dumpster enclosure in compliance with section 608C, sufficient space be provided for future drive-in capabilities as per section 623, that they obtain a NISDOT highway work permit, that the proposal comply with state and county sanitary codes and the county health department rules and regulations, that the applicant consult the health department to determine if they need a waiver, and if they need a waiver, get one, and then compliance with seeker.
I'd like to move it.
I'll second that.
And discussion.
Just a question for Dan. A question for Dan as the applicant, not as a planning board member. All these recommendations, are these pretty much expected, Dan? Is this what you expected?
Well, I didn't know what I was up against here. The town really didn't know, and that meeting was very helpful. I'm gonna get a updated survey map, of course. This thing here
Okay.
I have is kind of a blob, and be putting the particulars in there, the lighting, the parking, and for the drive-through area, the whole thing. It was pretty, it was informative, and it helped me out. It kind of gave me some guidance where I had to go with this. I was kind of just shooting in the dark before.
Well, yeah, and as you and I are both very familiar with the area, it's very rural.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I didn't know if these were encumbrances or these were pretty much obstacles that you expected in the construction.
I didn't really know exactly what I was up against. Like I say, it was. I guess I did expect it, but I guess maybe I didn't want to admit it. I don't know. It's just
Okay.
it's most of the stuff when I get looking at it, it was pretty simple and straightforward. Nothing that wouldn't happen through the process, anyways.
Okay.
And it appears to be a big lot. There's not enough room for a septic
Well,
replacement.
there's plenty of room. The problem being that there's 275 feet on one way instead of 300. It's
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
it's just a small,
supposed to be 3 by 350.
it would be a small area variance then. Or
Is it
waiver.
required to have a, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt.
Oh, no.
Why does he need something from the health department? Isn't that a pre-existing lot?
Yeah, it was a house there for years.
I mean, isn't that
Yeah.
only if you make a new lot? Or is it
So-
still requirement even if they change the use or something?
From how I
Really changes
understand it, this is going to be what they call a public water source because he's going to be serving things using the
Oh.
water coming out of the well. So there's a lot more to it.
It takes on a different look with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
Look-
there's plenty of room. The problem being that instead of being 200 or 300 feet, it's 275 on the sideline on it, which isn't a problem. He said there's plenty of land there and plenty of room to do whatever we got to do. It's just the numbers don't match what they're supposed to.
Doesn't look like anything nearby, any residences nearby.
No, there's they got a bunch of gardening and fruits and veggies right next door, and then the Kreger's or Dave Kreger's house was down there, two
Yeah.
lots down. There's no house there anymore. And all them trees are gone too.
Out of this,
Dan, is this, go ahead.
out of the CRC, it seemed like a lot of the things that we take into consideration were pretty simple. It was going to mainly be a health department, working with Don Ware, just basically, on the food service and the layout of the interior, the
Right.
building itself. That seemed like that was going to be most of your, heavy thinking put into that, Dan. I don't know if that's your takeaway too, but
I agree because I've never built anything quite like that. So I don't really. I have an idea, but I don't know where to start, how to best put it together. I've got a couple people to contact that do the ice cream store stuff, and I thought maybe I'd check in with them and kind of get a little help from them. It's like maybe the best way to line things up and what have you. I'm lost there.
But have you made ice cream before?
When I was a kid, we used to make it all the time. We had plenty of cows to work with there.
Can I ask a question? I mean, are you remember when what's his name down the road had that service there, had the little convenience store, and then there was a lawsuit over salt contamination from the highway garage across the street?
Oh, that was.
So I'm assuming you don't have the problem here. You're far enough away.
I don't know if that really had he's right across from the town barn. I don't know what really caused that whole thing. If it was runoff from the road or it's from the town barn or a combination or what, but it's gone away. I don't know what the heck happened with that. I think they built a new one.
I was involved with that, Chuck. I was involved sort of intimately with that, but then it fell off the radar screen. I don't know how.
I just want to make sure that Dan's okay. He doesn't have salt in his water if he's got a public water supply. So if he's okay, long as they'll probably test it first. So
and the people that were launching the suit or the claim, he was suing over actions when he was actually the town highway super, moving the salt pile around there. So I mean, and like I said, I was involved in it, and then it just fell off the radar screen. I don't know how it was resolved, other than there's nobody bitter over it. So I don't know.
It went away. I
That's
don't know
not my
where.
point. I was just making sure Dan's okay. There's no problem with his
Yeah.
water here for his well and stuff.
No. I hope not. I don't think there is. It should be good there. It's all in the gravel ground there. It should be good. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what did happen with that or whatever was the resolve of it or if there was any. I don't know. I never really heard, I guess. I'm sure there'd be something.
Maybe I could contact Virgil Highway about a grant for a salt storage building.
Yeah, they got one now.
They actually do have one. Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's why that went away. Maybe that's how they
Oh,
got it.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a good way to get it. Have a problem.
And all I'd say is that keep in mind if you do have a drive-through, the queuing of cars and lines. We've seen what can happen when you don't have enough space and too many customers. So
Right.
it looks like there were two roads. I mean, two
There's a-
driveways.
There's a
to
driveway
going
I
to-
put in up back. It was driveway and kind of to deter the water from running off the hill down across there. Kind of done twofold there.
It looks like it's centrally you can do a loop around that it wouldn't be a problem. So
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's. That driveway they want moved down about 4 or 5 feet, but that's not an issue. They say that's what we do. That's simple for us.
yeah.
I don't know if that'd be the drive-through or I'd configure it somewhere else. I don't. That's one of the things I got to work on when I get this new survey and stuff. So I actually got something to work with.
There was just some conversation, right, Dan, about that one entrance on South Hill Road not being too close to the property, the adjacent property owner, right?
Right.
And you had no problem with that.
No, I can say I can move that. It's within a few feet of being what they want. I'll just gravel down further and I'll put topsoil on that, put grass on the edge of it. That's and take it and just use it for keep the runoff from coming down across the property. There's a lot of hill there. It comes shutting down that way.
I can attest you do a good job on deterring water and rerouting water, Dan. Did a nice job on our property here.
Oh my God, that was quite a chore.
Yeah, that's quite a job you did, actually. But anyway, let's finalize this. Does anybody else have anything more to say? Then all those in favor of staff's recommendations?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? And Dan, you'll be an abstention, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I can't play.
Yeah, so one abstention. Okay.
Okay, we've got 4 returns this month. It's a pretty light month compared to the last one. We've got a area variance in the city of Cortland. Their house existing like this, they want to put a bathroom in. This is grandfathered in. It's too close to the property line, so it's just, they're just making their house square. Looking to subdivide 8.4 acres off of a 93-acre property. This is right out of the village on Tannery Street, the area. And we've got 2 area variances, one in the town of Virgil, one in the town of Homer, both for sheds in the front yard. They both have site limitations, which means they can't easily put sheds in the backyard. This one, they've got geothermal loops, solar array and leach field. On this one, they've got a nice slope back here, so it doesn't make it very easy to put a shed. That's it.
Okay. Any other announcements? Tricia, would there be any more training seminars of any sort, like a 1 day, 3-4 hour one instead of a elongated one that you've shown us coming up in the near future, or don't you know?
We've discussed I know in the fall previously there would be the 4-hour trainings at the county office building in the auditorium. And with current restrictions with COVID gatherings and increasing of cases, we discussed this as not the best option for right now. The state does have other listings, and of course, these are again more webinar training sessions that are available that I can continue to distribute as I get the information for them. But I think that's a part of why we were planning on starting the more personalized trainings to the individual municipalities in the beginning of the year. And we'll continue the discussion, and perhaps and I actually have a call in with Chris Eastman from the Department of State to also talk about something maybe in like March. I talked to him previously too about like a 4-hour training and seeing if somebody from the state could come down then. And hopefully we could reevaluate the COVID situation at that point.
Sounds good.
Tricia, I have a question to ask. As you're scheduling town training, could as it becomes available, I guess after January 1st, could you let the people on the can you let us board members, county planning board members know when you're training in our respective towns?
Absolutely.
As to, maybe as a county planning board member, we would want to go to the town as you're presenting to them.
That would be a great idea. That's a great idea. What I'll do is we'll just we'll try to contact the municipalities kind of all at the same time and get it scheduled, and then we can basically just put together a calendar and distribute it for everybody.
Great.
And we'll be starting to work on that after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think it may be useful for the town to see who the faces are at the county level too.
I think that's a great idea. That's a really good idea, Paul. I like it. Definitely. Cool.
Hey, our next meeting will be December 15th. Anybody interested in a Christmas party? We used to have Christmas parties.
Well, if it was live, I'm not sure about a Zoom Christmas party.
What is there a general consensus? Those headsets still haven't come in, which is why we opted out of the dual style meeting again for this month. But maybe we could shoot out a survey and see what the general consensus is about. Maybe we could do an in-person meeting in December and no.
A party.
Yeah. I think that I know within the county they've suggested, we continue to do the WebEx as our best practice option, but I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Actually, I like it a lot better than having a split meeting where half the people are on WebEx and half of them are in person. It didn't seem to flow as easily as these WebEx meetings are going.
I do feel that purely WebEx is better than the dual.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare to record to. If you're listening to it, you can't hear half of what anybody is saying. Or if you're on WebEx, I'm sure you couldn't hear most of what anybody else was saying. It's rough.
We've had the same problem with Rotary and other things where they're trying to do live plus a Zoom in it. It just doesn't work well. It's either better do all or nothing. It's kind of hard to, if you have a lot of equipment, you might be able to do it, but it's really takes a lot of setups.
Yep, I agree. So if anybody feels differently, reach out. Then maybe in December sounds like we'll be doing WebEx again. Hopefully someday cases will decrease and we can return to in person but
Sounds
fortunately
good.
for now, probably staying safe is.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think
Okay.
we need a second on that.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be in touch.
Okay, have a good Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Good
Thanks.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
bye.